Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a late September weekly garden tour. But before I get started, I wanted to show you what I think is the most creative plant packaging that I've ever seen. So over the weekend, my dear friend Jenks Farmer was here, and he owns the most incredible crinum farm. He also has a fabulous new book out, Secrets of Southern Gardening. I'm gonna put a link in the description. But he left me this package and I thought it was a bottle of wine. Right? See that? But then I was like, that looks like a leaf sticking out in the top. And look at what you do. You pull this red tab and there is the crinum bulb. Isn't that so cool? So I am getting some last minute things planted. I had a half a tray of Sporobolus left from the plant sale, and I went ahead and got those put in here at the Wave. I'm taking y'all's advice, and I'm getting ornamental grasses, more sun-tolerant ornamental grasses planted in this section. And then my long-term plan is going to be to get that section planted predominantly with carex, but other shade-loving perennials, and make this not an annual bed, even though it sort of breaks my heart. You followed along, you know I've been struggling with the Wave for several years because of the shade that the fabulous trees have created, and it's time that I just accept what it is and change the plant palette. So let me go ahead and get this planted, and then I will show you how everything is looking as our continued drought causes me stress. We have been very, very hot, and we are officially in autumn, but it definitely feels more like summer. And in case you're wondering what crinum this is, it is Crinum Infusion, which is a really beautiful dark pink. And look at that big healthy bulb. I love that he dipped it in like glitter paint so it looks a little extra. And I am just trying to figure out where to put it. So I'm getting it planted somewhere over here because I already have a lot of crinums in this border right there, behind me, right there, and out here on the corner. So you can see how big they get, so I do need to give it some appropriate real estate. Even though it's just one bulb now, it'll really increase in size. They like full sun, and they are really drought tolerant, but I like to put them in a spot where they will get some water. And I have too many that are already in shade, so I need to do a better job of making sure I get this in actual full sun. Well, as you can see, the big main border here at the Carolina Cottage just keeps getting more and more impressive. These castor beans are incredible. Lots of seeds. They're not ripe yet, but they are forming lots of seeds, and I'm keeping my eyes peeled. I know what's going to happen, though. They're going to ripen when I'm gone, and then I'm going to have a whole bunch self-sow. And I really want to collect these to be able to offer them at the spring open garden, which is the Saturday of Mother's Day weekend in 2026. But overall, I have to say, I think I'm gonna go ahead and grade this bed as an A-. I think more coleus is probably always the solution. It's kind of like more cowbell, but more coleus. Definitely have a lot of work to do to improve that space. And again, I just need to transition it from sun plants to shade plants because, 13 years in, the trees do really create quite a bit of shade. It's extremely dry despite my running sprinklers still, even though I said I wasn't going to. You can see how wilty this Edgeworthia is. And I've been running the sprinkler here for over an hour a day, but we really desperately need rain. Nothing can replace rain, and I'm not feeling real confident about the forecast, but hopefully some water will fall from the sky. Well, here in the Wave, you can really see where the irrigation doesn't hit, and these poor zinnias just look so sad and pathetic. The deer are actively eating the pumpkins, not all the way, just enough to show that they're present. And then you can definitely tell where the sprinkler is hitting, and that's making a big difference. And I did plant a whole bunch of cool season vegetables, and they got all mixed up when they got in here, so I have no idea what is what. Cauliflower and broccoli predominantly, And that's my main motivation for continuing to water out here. You can really see the Seminole pumpkin looks so good. I'm not sure what this one is, but the foliage is kind of ugly. It's not a Seminole, I know that. And then as we get over here, everything looks even better because this is more sun and it's been getting more water. So we've got self-sowing carrots, we have some catnip, and then of course I've planted a bunch of cool season vegetables in addition to the spirabolus and then some of the other native perennials and grasses that I managed to get planted before the sale because there are no plants left. So thank you all so much for your support of that native plant sale. I just want to reiterate my extreme gratitude to everyone who came out to visit during the open garden and picked up seeds and plants and supported the vendors. It was a really great day, albeit a very hot day. But it's definitely motivation to continue to do this. And like I said, we've already set the date for spring. So I hope you'll go ahead and mark your calendars. I'm giving you a lot of notice. That's actually a great weekend to be in Raleigh. Plant Delights will be open. There's just a lot happening at that season because it's the height of spring for central North Carolina. Well, you can see the shrub border is very, 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 very dry, but the Lespedeza little volcano has just started to bloom. So that's always noteworthy. And that is a very drought tolerant plant, which I genuinely appreciate. I mean, look, this viburnum, which is very well established, it's very droopy. Look at how sad this Phlox paniculata bright eyes is. Now, I have not irrigated out here even once this year. And I noticed this the other day, and this is Psychoperodia, I believe. And it's changing color really early, and that's because of the drought stress. Again, this is not a very inspiring view of the garden. Also, the Prunus subvertilla autumnalis variety rosea. Oh, how funny though, there's a hummingbird up there. Kind of see it. But it's dropping its leaves earlier than ever. So that's, you know, something to be aware of. I think because this is well established. I think this is just sort of a defense mechanism. Hopefully it will still bloom. This is usually a great fall bloomer and then it reblooms in the spring. But who knows? Everything is looking not super happy. I'd say just this whole border is looking really dry. The Deutzia, again, really the thing that looks the best, which is always worth noting, Lespedeza. Very drought tolerant in comparison to most of the other plant material in here. You know, more phlox that's really looking pathetic. Look at this self-seeded Calicarpa, how dry and wilted it is. And well, there's a self-seeded dogwood behind it that looks terrible too. I shouldn't say self-seeded, these are bird planted. I did not plant these. Great to see the Carex cherokeensis sort of holding its own. But yeah, this border would definitely look better if it would just rain. But I'm not sure that that is the sort of year that we're having. And I hate droughts. Well, the pink muley grass is very drought tolerant. And you know, this used to be planted more in the middle and it's like gravitated to right along the driveway edge. I did plant more because, you know, I've taken down those crepe myrtles that were completely covered in scale. And I'm surprised that they look as good as they do, considering I haven't watered at all. And I am excited to see money plant germinating right here. But then there's a whole bunch of other bad stuff germinating, specifically lamium. So the cool season weeds are starting, even though it's still like real full-on summer temperatures. But I'll let those get a little bit bigger before I come out and do some weeding. And of course, nutsedge is the most drought tolerant plant known to man. I wish that I could accept it and just let it be, but I can't. It's such a terrible weed but not impacted by the drought. And this shrub border is also looking pretty wilty. Kind of very sad looking forsythias. And amazingly, the Edina rubella looks great, so that's very drought tolerant, worth noting. One random rose blooming. A ginkgo that has never grown since the day I planted it, got planted in 2011, so y'all know. This calicarpa is not berrying as well as it used to, probably because it's in so much shade, but you can see it does have really nice dark berries. I am pleased to see that this Viburnum bituense looks as good as it does, and this calicarpa is way less drought stressed, but that's because I've been running the sprinkler on the other side. So they've been getting some sort of ambient water, and I've decided I'm gonna actually go ahead and cut this Viburnum popcorn all the way flush to the ground and let it resprout. It hasn't been blooming well because it's drought stressed. I think just cutting it down, letting it regrow is gonna be the best decision, because it really looks quite ugly. You can see it's got, you know, very sparse branches, and as I mentioned, it didn't bloom very well last year. So that is gonna be on the chopping block. Well, everybody, I hope you'll tune in tomorrow for part 2 of my late September weekly garden tour, where I'll show you everything that is growing out back. And then I'll do another 2 garden tours featuring the native borders and then all of the foodscapes in the backyard around the greenhouse. They are really looking spectacular, primarily because of my devotion to moving sprinklers. Well, as always, thanks so much for watching, and happy gardening, everybody.